question posed by Matthew in today's gospel is very practical and immediate. How are we to respond to a fellow disciple when it seems that he or she is sinning against the unity of the church? Matthew is interacting with Jewish Christians, and so he responds initially with the way of the synagogue, as that's from the Old Testament. But finally he says, if he refuses to listen even to the church, then treat him as you would a Gentile or a tax collector. And we recall that Jesus treated the outsiders with understanding and mercy, never with condemnation. Now, Christian response to sinning disciples has not been uniform. Paul initially advised shunning the incestuous sinner in Corinth, and also the one breaking unity in faith in Thessalonica. But later, in his letter to the Romans, proclaimed today, Paul urged, "Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another." You know, what was formerly given to Peter, the keys to open or shut, now is given by the Lord to all disciples. The Christian community, each one of us, is to guard, protect, and enrich the human community with the word of truth that we have received from the Lord, always with humility, always knowing that we do not have the answer to every question posed. And so in our first reading, the prophet Ezekiel challenges, "You, son of man, I have appointed watchmen for the house of Israel." Watchmen. The community cannot hide from its duty to proclaim with fidelity the word of life given it. That which we guard is of faith, and always with respect for the traditions which flow from faith. Disciples will argue about what is of faith and what are debatable understandings, and we will listen to those various opinions and how we are to connect faith to the issues of life, knowing that it's very difficult. It is not simple. From the very beginning of the Christian community, there have been concerns of how to deal with differences of understanding. And yet, despite all the differences through the ages, believers stand together in covenant with one another and in the Lord. So today, we grapple with issues concerned with homosexuality, about the role of leadership of women in the church, with the tradition of required celibacy of priests, despite the fact that we priests all over the world are of vanishing breed. And many people have Eucharist celebrated only infrequently because there are simply not enough priests to minister to the faith community. And that's a question. We have to ponder about the relationship of marriage and divorce and the issues connected with that in the church. There is theological debate of how the self-offering of Jesus on Calvary is to be understood. It is not a simple way of understanding how the community of faith is the sacrament of Christ, even though in the way it lives and even in its understanding it is far from perfect. But always with those with whom we disagree, we are not allowed the luxury of denigrating, of holding in contempt, of ridiculing, however objective their sin might be. The abortion doctor, the politician utterly indifferent to concerns of the common good, the political analyst on radio or TV who himself or herself mocks and holds others in contempt. Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. Always we Catholics separate issues from persons. We listen and we reflect on where we disagree without being disagreeable. So, how do we go about having this attitude of respect and understanding and love and searching, especially with those who are our fellow disciples? First, we have to spend some time with Jesus, reflecting on what he said and what he did and who he was, perking up our ears and our hearts as he says to you and to me, follow me. Don't follow in the way of the world. Don't follow in that way. It only leads to destruction and division and destroys the unity that the human family should have. We listen with respect to the traditions handed down in the community of faith, separating issues that are of faith and other issues deliberate and legitimately controverted within the church. And thirdly, when we rise in the morning, we should look about and see how this invitation to love connects, first of all, with those in our family, where we work. We reflect on the way we think about people of other religions, with those of others of differing ethnicity or language or color. We have an obligation to see what we owe to each and every person we encounter in our daily life. Staring love's debt in the face is one of the most humbling things we can and should do day after day. Because when we do that, we come to realize, all of us, that so often we have been self-absorbed and smug and somehow not accepting people where they are. So do we rise from prayer, conscious of the mission entrusted to us, with a renewed commitment to radiate the way of Jesus to all about us.